Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I'm doing the King of Horror Stephen King tag. It was created by Jess Book Girl, and I was tagged by Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. Now I am way behind on doing some of my tags. I was tagged just the other day with this one, and I thought it would be a lot of fun because I used to be a very big Stephen King fan. And I will get to the other tags soon, hopefully. So this tag has 18 prompts. Number 1, how did you get into reading Stephen King? When I was 13 or 14, I discovered a book on the shelves in my house. It belonged to either my father or my older brother. It was Salem's Lot. And I picked it up and I started reading it. And my 13, 14-year-old self just absolutely fell in love with that stories of vampires in Maine. I was enraptured. And I started seeking out many of his other books that he'd written. Now, he was still a fairly new author at that time. I think this was the year 1978 when I read it. Could have been 1977, somewhere around then. Prompt number 2, what is the first Stephen King book you read? I already said it, Salem's Lot. Number 3, have you read a Stephen King book published in the year you were born? I was born in 1964. Stephen King didn't publish anything in 1964 that I know of. Prompt number 4. Which of his books do you prefer to collect? Hardcover editions, paperbacks, or it doesn't matter to you? When I was young, I loved to buy the hardcovers. I couldn't always buy the hardcover, but I loved to buy them because I could not wait for them to come out in paperback. And I could not wait to ask the library to get a book for me. Because the library, you had to wait like 10, 15 weeks to get a Stephen King book. And there's no way I'd be waiting. Nowadays, if I were to purchase a Stephen King book, I would almost certainly purchase the Kindle version or maybe the audiobook version. Prompt number 5. How many of his books are on your bookshelf? I'll just show them to you. Skeleton Crew, Pet Cemetery, Carrie, The Colorado Kid, Joyland, and this rare beast, Dark Tower, the Gunslinger. This is an original hardcover edition. It is limited to 10,000 copies, I believe. And it's quite rare and quite expensive. Honestly, I don't like this book. I never did. I've been thinking about selling this, but, who am I going to sell it to? And out of this, the only book that I have never read is Joyland. Prompt number 6. Stephen King is known for long and gory novels. Which of his novels was tough for you to read? The gore doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is the Stephen King habit of really ramping up his endings to the point where they just go into a ludicrous direction. I remember, was it in 1991, thereabouts, when I was reading Needful Things. And he just set off all the pyrotechnics he could think of at the end of that novel. I don't remember the detail, but I do remember that I was thinking, yeah, this is pyrotechnics. And it just put me off. And 1991 is probably the year that I decided that maybe Stephen King isn't my favorite writer anymore. But he had a good decade or so where he was my favorite author. Prompt number 7. Have you DNF'd a Stephen King book? I don't think so. I can't remember it. Prompt number 8. Have you read his books in publication order? Well, I used to, as I said. Since about the time of The Shining and The Stand, I read them all in order, up through Needful Things, and then through Insomnia. And after that, I'd have to check my list. After that, I started skipping some of his books. Prompt number 9. What Stephen King books would you like to read but haven't read yet? Mr. Mercedes. I know I was talking in the comments of a video, or maybe it was a live show, where I mentioned that the Stephen King endings just don't work for me anymore with their heavy dose of supernatural. And someone suggested that I pick up Mr. Mercedes, that it was a lot closer to a mystery and crime novel. So that's where I want to go for one of the books that I haven't read. Number 10. Name a book he has written that other people liked, but you didn't. I'm going to go with The Wolves of Kalia. That was like his 6th book. 7th book? I don't know, somewhere in the Dark Tower series. And what happened in that book is there was a scene that he was struggling too hard. I'm going to call it the gunslinger hoedown scene, where he tries to do an interpretive dance for these people who are singing along. And it just did not work for me. Also, even more so than the hoedown scene, is that is the book where he started to get into the metafiction. And metafiction is fiction that is aware of itself. This is where Stephen King started writing himself and his own books into the Dark Tower series. Now, metafiction has a long and very interesting history. Some authors do it very, very well. I'm thinking of Some Clouds by Paco Ignatius Tubio II. It is actually a crime novel translated from the Spanish. And that one, the detective is stuck solving his crime. So, of course, he goes to the author of the book saying, can you help me solve this crime? And it was just one chapter, and it really worked. And it worked much better than what Stephen King did, who just went, again, way overboard with the metafiction, and it just turned me off. Name a book of his that you think is underrated. I'm not sure I can answer this, because the books that I really like are his earlier books, when I was still infatuated with him. And I don't think any of them are underrated, or I can't remember really liking one and other people saying it wasn't good. Number 12, creepy characters. Which Stephen King characters would you like to have dinner with? I don't remember the name of the character, but let's go with the author from Misery, because he's a character very unlikely to kill me or eat me afterwards. Prompt number 13. Has Stephen King inspired you to start reading and writing? Well, I was already a pretty strong reader, and he really kicked me into gear on reading when I was younger. As for writing, I have mentioned when I was in my teens and my 20s, I thought I'd be a writer. I didn't really aspire to be a Stephen King type of writer, because as I got older, I started drifting away from horror. So I don't think he inspired me to be a writer, but he did kick me into high gear for reading. Prompt number 14. If you were able to meet Stephen King, what would you say? Well, here's the thing. Most famous authors probably don't want to hear from their fans, especially a fan that is sort of wandered off the path. But I would ask him a humorous question. I would ask him, is there any contemporary author that you would like to duct tape into a bundle, shove into a box, write some rude comments to Muhammad, and then ship off to the Middle East. Now, he's a savvy guy. He probably would say, I wouldn't do that to any fellow author, which is the correct answer. But, it'd be kind of fun to have him think of authors that he really doesn't like very much. Prompt number 15. Have you ever been to Bangor, Maine? No, I have not been to Bangor, Maine. I have been to Portland, Maine, which is a nice little city, but not Bangor. Prompt number 16. Which do you prefer, his books or movies? I still prefer his books. I think most of his movies are turkeys, and I've seen a number of them, but none of them, would I say, are really top-notch movies. Prompt number 17. Name your favorite Stephen King movies. Well, I've already said I don't think any of them are really top-notch. But if I were to pick a favorite, I'm actually going to go with the first Stephen King movie that I saw, which was Carrie, the original. And I saw it in the movie theaters. I was probably too young to see it, but people didn't card kids back then. You could walk into an R-rated movie when you're young and just buy a ticket. Prompt number 18. Tag people. I think most people have been tagged in this already, even though this tag is really new. I have done a little bit of research. I think I've come up with 2 people who like Stephen King books who haven't been tagged. If you're not interested in doing this tag, don't worry. But I will tag Chris at Unlimited Reads and Tad at Tad Reads Books and Stuff. That is the end of the tag. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.